Hi, everybody. Kyle Longton here to talk about our next chapter conversations, a quarterly compass from the Senior Living Foundation. Our focus this quarter remains on healthy aging. I wanted to encourage you to take a look at our Facebook page as well as our website and engage in the conversation. We've got some new resources there, including conversation with a Washington, D.C. area senior group about how they stay engaged physically, socially, and mentally. But I also wanted to give an update on our book discussion. So you may know already, we've been reading Elderhood by Dr. Louise Aronson, and we've got a thread going there about the first part of the book. And so I just wanted to pop up and encourage you to join us there, highlight some of the questions that occurred to me, but I'd also love to hear from you about questions that have occurred or your response to my thoughts on it, however you feel. And if you haven't read it, that's okay. There's questions there. You can take a look, engage in the conversation because it's just about healthy aging for all of us and how we define that. So there's some of the questions that came through to me as I read the first parts of the book, both the birth section and the childhood section. How do we define old or elderly? Is it number, a health condition, a combination? What do you think about this? And how do you feel you fit into this? How do you think other people see you? There's also parts where Dr. Aronson talks about the daily, often fruitless battles against structural forces to get my patients what they needed. She even noted that her patients could not get the sorts of things that would have made them more comfortable, more functional, healthier, and happier. This feels so true every day in the work that I do with Senior Living Foundation and along with my colleagues, and that we also see on the AFSPA side and how those two support each other, but also how they diverge in terms of what they can provide. So what have you seen benefit people in your life? What have you benefited from that maybe fits into this category that Dr. Aronson talks about? A couple other questions that I included online, but I did want to highlight the story of Dimitri. So spoiler alert here for the child chapter, she talks about Dimitri coming in to her care almost comatose, unable to do much for himself. And she dug into his file, and Dr. Aronson found that one condition was treated, but the medicine used for that caused a side effect, which led to another medication, which led to another side effect, which led to another medication, and on and on and on, a chain reaction. And I felt like this came through as exemplified the disconnect often present in American healthcare and the fact that new symptoms are too often attributed to age and disease rather than to care or drugs that actually cause them. Have you seen this? Have you experienced this? And if so, did you feel empowered to address it either for yourself or for a loved one? It's so hard in our current system. How did you approach this? And I think this also ties into what Dr. Aronson wrote at the end of the child chapter, where she described a shift in the 19th century thinking when Americans began viewing the body as a machine and not a divine gift. That really spoke to me. But how do you think we approach the human body today, especially in the later stages of life? How do we treat each other? How do we feel like the medical industry, the medical practice, individual practitioners, how do you feel like they approach that? And finally, I just wanted to call out that at the end of the tween chapter, Dr. Aronson described a colleague's encounter with a dying woman. It was very clear when she came into the hospital, there was nothing they could do for her. The colleague spent only a few minutes admitting the patient. Later, he learned that the patient was only in her 40s. And so he felt bad, basically, that the time he'd spent admitting her was inadequate. Had she been the age that the colleague thought she was, the patient, he assumed she was much older. He was fine with spending a few minutes, but since she was in her 40s, he felt like he should have spent more time. And the takeaway was that they should more prominently highlight the age of patients when handing them off from one practitioner to another. This follows a theme of othering of older people and medical patients that came throughout the book. What's your response to this story and this theme overall? How do you feel like this shows up in wider society as well as in the medical situations? Please, I hope you'll join us in this conversation, whether you've read the book or not. Take a look at our Facebook page, at our website, look for Next Chapter Conversations, join the conversation, and please join us for our special event at the end of this month on the 26th of June at 2 p.m. when we will be in conversation with Dr. Ali Khan, who is the Chief Medical Officer for Medicare Advantage at Aetna, and a working physician in the Chicago area. I hope to hear from you soon. Submit your questions ahead of time. Join us live for that event and join the conversation on Facebook. We'll talk again soon.